Hello, my name is Jessica Bennett, and I chose to read the book Differentiated Instructional Strategies, One Size Doesn't Fit All by Gail H. Gregory and Carolyn Chapman, published in 2013. I chose to read this book because my son has suffered from learning disabilities since he was in about first grade, and for the longest time, teachers didn't understand how to help him. My son was diagnosed with borderline ADHD. They chose not to medicate him, which is fine. So he's been in behavioral therapy. He also has ODD, and he's currently on a 504 plan. He's a very smart kid, but he learns differently from other students in the class. So through a lot of research, I have been able to help my son learn better. I've helped the teachers teach better. And also have helped the principal understand, and also his case managers understand how to help him better. So I just thought this book would be very fitting. I find it very interesting. I've never read this book before, and it had a lot of really good insight on differentiated instruction strategies. So I will be sure to share some of this information on my upcoming school collaboration, and I'm pretty excited about it. So we will go ahead and move on. So what is differentiated instruction? Well, differentiated instruction is a philosophy or a mindset that really enables educators to plan strategically in order to reach needs of diverse learners in a classroom. There's all different types of learners. Not everybody learns the same way. So there was a time not long ago when teachers came into this profession wanting to help kids to learn and to prepare them to be successful college students and later on adults. Teachers would plan their own curriculums, design them, teach it to the class, and just really hope and pray for the best. There was not a lot of studies back then on differentiated instruction. Sometimes children were held back because they didn't understand the material that they were learning. Maybe they would understand it, but they couldn't compute it and put it down in a test. So this way will help them achieve that. Differentiation is just, it's not a specific set of tools or guidelines, but like I said, it's just a mindset that the educator has to embrace in order to meet unique needs of all the students in the classroom. A lot of times we hear Common Core standards and we say, oh my gosh, we don't understand it. I didn't at first either. There are still some things that I don't understand. When my son comes home with Common Core math, I cringe. But these are a set of standards set by the school's district or the county that the school resides in. Common Core standards were set to give national consistency rather than standards differencing between state to state. Common Core standards are set for math and English only, not for social studies or science. They were created to go clearer and deeper into the subject and really prepare a student for college and for a career. So what does this mean for teachers? Teachers already have a really hard job. Now they're being faced with finding new ways to help each student learn the same material and work it in ways that satisfy each of the students' learning needs. This requires the teachers a more concise effort on their part to analyze available data, different testing, and to make better decisions on what is working and what materials may need to be adjusted. Planned materials, they can't be boring, they can't be too frustrating, but they need to be challenging enough for diverse learners as well as other classmates. There's a wide variety of resources, and they should be accessible for students at any given time. Next, one of the most interesting things that I read in the book was about learners and what they need to succeed. So thinking right now, what do you think that a student would need to be successful? I thought at first maybe a great teacher, pen, paper, a book to study, they do their homework, they turn it in, they get good grades. That couldn't be further from the truth. It goes much deeper than that. For each student to become successful, They need to believe that they can learn and what they're learning is useful and it's relevant and it's meaningful to them. Today, my son said that the most enjoyable part of his day was in facts class when he learned how to put money into a bank account, and when mom uses that debit card, where that money goes, how it comes out. It doesn't just come out of nowhere. So I thought that was really interesting. And it's also really important that if a child feels wanted and that there is a sense of being in the classroom and they are responsible for their own learning and behavior. This is also going to help instill self-efficiency. Teachers have a huge role in a student's life, both personally and academically. Everything a teacher says or does can give a message to the student, and that can either be good or it can be bad. I never realized how much like just simple gestures or maybe looks, different things like that could really impact a child. So according to Gregory and Perry in 2006, every gesture, every inflection, and every invasion of personal space is monitored by the limbic system and evaluated in terms of its potential. This statement really hit home with me because my son often comes home and he says he can just, when they have a new semester, he'll say a teacher doesn't like him. And I'll say, why do you think that your teacher doesn't like you? He says, I don't know. I can just tell. That didn't really make sense to me until I read this book. So apparently your brain can absorb information on a conscious and unconscious level. That was pretty cool. So just as a future educator, I'm going to have to make some serious effort not to make any gestures that maybe would make a student feel uncomfortable. I would never, ever, ever want a student to feel uncomfortable in a classroom. Researcher Deborah Rosman in 1998 said, "It has been said, people need to know you care before they care about what you know." People have a strong need to be liked and included in a classroom. And in a classroom is a really good place to start. Students can learn that if they're in fear of making a mistake in a classroom, for example, like if you, a student verbally answered a question wrong in class and somebody laughed, that student would be afraid to answer another question for the entire year. So I was really curious about how that would play out. And so I asked my son if a teacher had ever made him feel uncomfortable in school, and he said, yeah. He said when he raised his hand, the teacher just looked at him, rolled her eyes, and then picked another student. He said that he felt so embarrassed that he hasn't raised his hand all year long. Now, even though that teacher didn't say anything to him, he just knew that he thought that she thought that he would have the wrong answer. And sometimes he does act up in class, so she probably passed him, maybe on purpose, just to avoid any conflict. But I was really saddened by that, and I felt really bad for him. So, a learning profile is a different ways. It's a compilation of data to identify and share ways in which a student learns. So this can include things like how the student views the world, how the student processes information, learns, thinks, and even remembers. There wasn't actually a lot of research in this field of neuroscience in children, and based on the way that they like to learn. The sweet spot is typically known in baseball and not in the classroom. A sweet spot is a point on a bat, which makes the hit more effective when the ball comes in contact with it. So as a future educator, it's our job to find the sweet spot in each student to help them connect in the most relevant and effective way. So with my son, for an example, we went through a lot of trial and error to find what works best for him. So we were finding his sweet spot. Did you know that there are a lot of different types of learners? There's auditory learners that absorb everything that they hear. There's visual learners that gather information by learning best from like illustrations and pictures. And there's tactile learners who learn best by doing and moving. That is my son to a T. He's a very hands-on child. He likes to get in there and do it and learn from it. He is not visual because he's often distracted and easily distracted. So we find that he's very hands-on. Even if he's reading the own material, he learns that way too. So I was curious. I have a home daycare where I care for 2, 3, and 4-year-olds. So I was curious about it. I tested it out on the kids, and I asked the 3 older ones to sit down at the table, and we were going to learn the 3 stages of a butterfly's life. I told them how it started, that a caterpillar or butterflies start out as caterpillars, and then that they went into a cocoon, and then they turned into a butterfly. When I asked the 3 stages, they could tell me, but they were confused. They got them in the wrong order. So I showed them visually on a paper by drawing the 3 stages out. So then I again asked them if they could tell me the 3 stages, and 2 of the children got them right, and the 1 did not. So I thought, well, maybe we're going to do some hands-on. So I cut the drawings out, and I passed them around, and I asked the students to put them in order of the 3 stages. And when I asked the last time, all of them could tell me the 3 stages of a butterfly's life. So I thought that was pretty awesome that they could use the differentiated instruction with my own daycare and even with smaller kids. Lastly, I just wanted to add in that even though we are going to be brand new educators mixed in with seasoned educators, that doesn't mean anything. Differentiated instruction is something that you're going to continue to learn. Just from my own personal experience, sitting down with teachers that have been in the profession for 30 plus years, learn something new every time I talk to them. So don't be afraid to learn, ask, read, try new things. Not everything is going to work the first time you try it. I'm really excited to try this out, and thank you for watching.